Hello everybody, today I'm gonna talk about how I create this texture of this Remington in Substance Painter. I will talk a bit about my texture pipeline, about my texture techniques and something like that. So in link in the description you can find a Substance Painter file of this Remington, and now I will explain every layer of one of the materials here. Actually, this detail, this part of the weapon has two materials, a light metal and a dark metal. Today we're gonna talk about a dark metal, cause in my point of view, it's more interesting cause of this little normal details, cause of damages and some stuff. Firstly, we need to talk about references, yeah? The main goal of this project was to create this kind of color variations, to create those little details, this normal map. So today we're gonna talk about a technique of creating this normal map with AI. Yeah, we're gonna use Gigapixel AI and we're gonna use ChatGPT. So let's go to our texture, and now we're gonna talk from the beginning, from the first layer. The first layer is a base layer in which you can try to find proper basic values, a proper base color, roughness and metallic. It could be kinda difficult for beginners because in references we can see some variations of basic material. For example, here a metal is darker than here, and if you want to have a proper texture you need to select a main reference. In my case, the main reference was this photo. Yeah, so by this photo, I tried to copy a base material. How to choose a main reference? Firstly, it should be a photo without glare. So we couldn't actually use, for example, this photo as a main reference, because here we have this kind of big glare, this big white spot that was caused by a light. So we don't use this reference as a main reference. I used this reference, that's kind of cool for me, it's a high quality reference. Yes, so try to spend a bit of time by finding proper values of base color, roughness and metallic. I've spent about, I assure, 20 to 30 minutes to find those proper values. Yeah, here I have another layer that is called base test. Yeah, it was just a testing of another base values. Actually, in some details you can have different values. For example, this part you can make lighter than a top part or something like that. Actually, it could be very useful if you want to divide pieces of your weapon from each other. Yeah, so they don't look like one part. If you want to separate parts of your weapon, you could make one part, for example, lighter or darker, change the roughness of this detail or something like that. Yeah, the next part, now we have kinda solid base color. It looks kinda boring, so we need to change it. The next layer is curvature lightening. So we light our curvature. Here is a mask of this layer, as you can see. Yeah, and another layer is ambient occlusion darkening. Here something like that. Actually, now we need to talk a bit about classical art, because in classical art we can find an explanation of why I darkened my ambient occlusion and why I'm lightening my curvature map. In classical art there is such an effect that's called chiaroscuro. I don't know how to pronounce this in English, but in Russian sounds like chiaroscuro. Yeah, so the main thing of this effect is that our canvas, our image is flat, and to make it more, to give it more volume, to make it more deep, we add some deep shadows, yeah, like deep dark shadows, and add some kind of glare, some kind of very light glare. So by this contrast of dark and light, we can have more volume on our picture. Yeah, so it's pretty related, it's pretty connected with weapon art, because in this case we have a kind of canvas. Our rifle is a canvas, our texture is a canvas. So on this canvas we need to create a volume, and this volume we create by adding a contrast of light and dark. So dark is a shadow, light is glare. In this case, glare is just edges lightening. Yeah, so that's the first thing. Yeah, actually, other main principle of texturing is adding variations, because actually in real world you couldn't find anything that has no variations. Everything has this kind of noise texture, maybe some variations. You can look around and find some things, I don't know, maybe your computer, your mouse, laptop, I don't even know what you have around yourself. And look closely to these objects and you will find out that they actually don't have this kind of monotonous color and monotonous textures. So the main principle of texturing weapon and not even weapon of texturing of everything in Substance Painter is to create variations. There are several ways to create variations. Firstly, you can create it by just adding some light variations. You can see there is a mask. Yeah, it's kind of just random grunge. You can use another grunge. I really like BMW Spots, Cloud, Dirt 3, Dirt 2, and something like that. Yeah, so here I just lightened my base color. At the same time, I have a bit of roughness variations. So the second principle of texturing is if you add a layer, it should affect different channels at the same time. What I mean, if you create a variation that affects the base color, this variation should affect a roughness channel at the same time. So here you can see that this variation has kind of dirty effect on my roughness. Yeah, so yeah, the third thing that I need to say about texturing is if you create a something like lightening texturing, yeah, as I have created before, as I have mentioned before, yes, this lightening texture, this lightening variation, you need to add something contrast to make it more contrast. So in my case, you add some darkening variation. If you create like a saturation variation with, I don't know, maybe orange color, yeah, you need to create another variation that should be not as saturated and have an opposite color, for example blue or deep blue or something like that. Yeah, so variations should be contrast, they should be opposite. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, here in this texture I had a pretty solid goal, yeah, to create this kind of variation. Here you can see that it's pretty solid and pretty hard to recreate, because here we have some blue tint, here we have some red tint, some rusty colors and something like that. So actually I've tried this by this mask, yeah, that's a blue steel mask. You can look at this mask, it looks like that, yeah. Actually it was just created with a paint layer, yeah, with adding some stencils, and after all I used a smudge tool. Here you can find it, yeah, to make this texture more blurry, to make it more stain-like, yeah. So, but it's not the most difficult part of this layer, because here we have a color variation. I wanted to recreate this variation where we have a red border, rusty outer and blue inner part. Yes, so I just added some directional variations, and after all with this gradient filter I've added these blue variations. As you can see, there is different tints. You can see a deep blue, a bit of light blue, and a bit of this rusty color. Yeah, so it was kind of difficult to create, it was kind of difficult to find the needed values of base color and roughness. The next thing about variations that I should say is gradients, because as I have mentioned, you can add variations with grunges, but also those variations should be visible in different distances. I mean that you can actually see those variations that we have added before in a close-up shot, but in middle shot, yeah, on a pretty big distance, you actually couldn't see those variations. So we need to create this kind of variations that could be visible from far distance. Actually, we always in texturing we always should think about variations. Yeah, so variations should be visible from long distances, from close-up shots, from middle distances, etc, etc. Yes, so gradient is a kind of simple layer. Yeah, it's just a dark layer that I have created by basic soft brush. Here I can find it. It's called call it basic soft. Yeah, it's my favorite brush actually, because with this basic brush that's called basic soft, you can, I don't know, complete most of the tasks assigned to you actually in texturing and texture creation. Yeah, so after that I repeat myself because I create even more variations, but with other tints. For example, the next variation is just a orange tint variation. The next variation is a rust tint variation. It's just a gradient that I have painted with a basic soft brush, but in my mask I have added this grunge layer to make it more variable, because as you can see, now this gradient looks kind of boring, it's monotonous. In textures, in all channels like albedo, roughness, metalness, in all the mask, you should make your texture variable. Yeah, there shouldn't be any place that hasn't any variations. Yeah, so after all, I added more and more variations, especially this dark gradient. It was added by soft brush, yeah, by this basic soft brush. So it's pretty the same. All those variations, you can find them in the file and the link of the description. I will not focus on them a lot because they're repeating those principles, those main rules that I have mentioned before. So I see no reason to repeat to myself, and actually we'll go on to next layers. The next technique to add variations is to use photoscans. Actually, you can find photoscans in the web, in ambientcg.com, fab.com, on textureninja.com. So it's just a fill layer, as you can see. It looks like that, yeah. So you can change blending mode here. Actually, I use a divide blending mode often for my color variations. I haven't mentioned this before, but I need to say this. I use soft light blending mode. In my point of view, this is the best way to blend your colors. I will explain this why it's the best blending mode in my point of view. Actually, imagine you add some kind of blue variations. After all, you add another color variation and another color variation. If you use soft light blending mode, all those colors will blend and create a new color. For example, here on my weapon you can see some kind of green, some kind of pink, some kind of brown variations, but I haven't actually add them. They was added by blending those three layers. You can add another color variations, I don't know, some red variations, maybe green variations and something like that. We add all those things so our texture can be more variable and look like on reference. Yeah, so the main principle of texturing is that you should look on your reference and try to repeat it. Yeah, so I say pretty common rules that will suit to most of the situations, but in rare cases you need to just look at your reference. Don't use any rules and try to just recreate your reference. It's the best way of texturing in my point of view. So yeah, just try to recreate your references. I will decrease this amount. Yeah, after all, I create some roughness variations, because as you can see now, our base color is pretty variated. It has lots of colors, it has lots of tints. From far distance it looks kind of cool, from close-up distance it looks also pretty cool. But if we look to our roughness, it looks kind of monotonous. Yeah, from far distance it's monotonous, so we need to add more variations. Actually, roughness channel should be more variable than your base color channel, because here in base color channel we have more ways to add variations. We can add colors, we can change a tint, we can change a saturation, but in roughness we couldn't do this because we work with black and white channels, yeah, so we can't add colors, I don't know, orange, blue or something like that. We just can't make this, so we need to make roughness more variable. I make this by adding more variations here on my roughness channel. I just create a layer that affects only my roughness channel, and in roughness here, yeah, I've chosen a soft light blending mode. You can actually create from 2 to 5 of those roughness variation layers, yeah. So your model in this case, I mean your texture will be cooler, it will be kind of more interesting and more variable. After that, actually we add some noise, because noise is our main tool to make our texture more variable in a close-up shot. So actually, yeah, we create some fractal zoom noise. It's a pretty common technique to create this, to add this kind of noise. Actually, it looks like that, yeah, and it recreates those effect of cameras. Actually, you can see on some old digital cameras that they have this kind of noise on the photos, especially if photo is low quality. You can see that on a solid surface there is some this kind of colored points, this I don't know, pink points, red points, and all this stuff. So actually I like to add a bit of this variation in my models to make them more photorealistic, yeah. After that I add even more variations. Yeah, they're pretty the same actually. Now we need to talk about a noise. Yeah, so firstly I add some just a basic white noise. Yeah, actually you can look to the mask of this noise. It's pretty common. Yeah, it's pretty common to use a white noise in your mask of noise. Yeah, it's pretty good noise to recreate a noise. I repeat to myself, actually, I sound like I don't know who. Yeah. So actually try to find this factor of the noise in your references, because in my references I couldn't actually see this factor of the noise, so I added just a basic white noise. But in your case you can create some rare or some specific kind of material that in which white noise couldn't actually suit to you. Yeah, so in this case you will need another type of noise. As I have mentioned before, if you add something that lights your texture, you need to you need to add something that darkens your texture. Here I have a white noise and the next layer is opposite, is just a black noise. Yeah, and don't forget that your layer needs to affect different channels. So my noises actually affect my roughness, and I suppose that they affects my metallic just a bit. Yeah, you also need to create some kind of variations on your metal channel. It shouldn't be as evident as on roughness channel or as on base color channel, but you actually need to work on your metallic map. Yep. So after that I've created a bit of flakes here. Flakes is one of my favorite noises actually. It can suit to you if you look, it looks like that. Flakes. It can suit to you if you create a metal material. Flakes noise is, I can say, the best friend of metal materials. Yeah, you can add to every kind of metals, and your metals will be look better actually. And I need to mention that your noises shouldn't be monotonous. Here you can see in my mask that my noise is not so evident. In some places there is more noise, as you can see there is more like this mask is whiter, this mask is lighter, so there is more of my noise. This factor is more evident. In other places it's not as evident. For the second layer I have added some little details with flakes. Actually you can see that in some places my flakes have changed their size and they become more intensive, they affect my height and normal map more than before. So your factor, your normal map shouldn't be monotonous, it shouldn't be variable. I reply this, I don't know, maybe for third or fourth or fifth time on this video, but it really essential principle of the texturing. Everything should be variable. Your high map, your roughness map, your albedo, base color, metallic, everything should be variable. I mean. So after that I've created some little details that I have seen on the references, this kinda white dots. Yeah, actually it's a pretty cool detail because you can see it from a long distance, from a middle distance, and in close-up view also. A bit of high map on the noise, and now we need to talk about a normal map. It's a pretty interesting part of this texture, because actually, as you can see on the references, yeah, a normal map here is pretty difficult. It contains of lots of these ornaments, lots of these drawings, and actually, firstly, I have had no idea how I can recreate them accurately. But after that, I found that pipeline in which we use two artificial intelligence software, yeah, that helps us to recreate those ornaments, those drawings. So firstly, you need to take a photo in which you can actually see this kind of normal map. For example, I will use this photo, yeah. After that, you go to Gigapixel Pro. That's a software that increases quality of your image, because after that we will go to ChatGPT so he can give us an alpha of this ornament. But actually ChatGPT don't like low quality images, so we need to increase the quality of this image. We go to Gigapixel, just select quality that we need. Yeah, I just added a 6x multiplier, so now I have this kind of large image. After that I export this image and go to ChatGPT or maybe to Gemini. In last time I've used Gemini, it gives you a more solid result. Actually it makes the result more, clearer. Yeah, so your alpha in the end looks clearer actually, but you can also try this with ChatGPT. So you ask ChatGPT to make an alpha from this ornament. Maybe in, I don't know, maybe on the 9th try it will give you a proper result. Actually you need to change some options, you need to change your prompt, yeah, and after that you will have an alpha of this texture. With which you can create this kind of ornament on your normal map. You go to Substance Painter and just use it as a stencil. Yeah, so actually here you can see as I created, yeah, there's just some kind of paint layers, yeah, in which I have just created all these ornaments, yeah, and that's it. There's nothing difficult in it, but actually you need to spend a little of your time in ChatGPT, because sometimes it gives you a shitty, bad result. Yeah, so you need to tell him to make something really good. Yeah, so you don't just add your normal map, because as I have mentioned before, you need to affect different layers. If you just add a normal map, it will be kinda boring on your texture. So firstly, for a contrast, we need to make a border of this height map. Yeah, actually it looks like that in my case. It make our details more evident, but I don't actually like to make this border as intensive. so I just edit it a bit, just a bit. In some places I have changed my basic normal map. Somewhere I just used matte finish materials. It's a pretty good technique. You can find some matte finish materials here in asset browser. Yeah, so we will try to find them. Matte finish, yeah. Something like that, I don't know. I really like matte finish galvanized and matte finish rough. Yeah, so you can add it, yeah, you can create a little mask for them so they don't be monotonous and be everywhere in your texture. They just add somewhere, yeah, maybe somewhere here. Yeah, so you can see your normal map become more variable. And after all, we need to talk about our albedo, yeah, about our base color map. So actually, as you can see, without any coloration, our ornament looks kind of boring, so I decided to just light it a bit, just a bit, because our base color is dark. So to make our ornament contrast and more visible, I decided to make it lighter. If our metal was more light, I don't know, if it was an aluminum or something like that, that is kind of light metal, so my ornament in this case would be darker, because I just need to create some contrast. This contrast also exists in roughness map, so actually you need to make your ornament more visible. And after all, I have just added some color variations on my ornament. As you can see, there is a mask, yeah, and there is a base color. There is some tints like yellow, green. It's just like random tints that make our texture more visible and more interesting. So that's it with normal map. It was pretty difficult because I have spent a lot of time trying to find out how I can recreate a pattern of these ornaments. But after all, I've spent about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours to create this normal map. After that I add some milling. I will write it here, some milling material. Actually, a milling on this material was kinda difficult to recreate. I need to say that your noise material and your milling material is other kind of material that covers your main material. So actually, in terms of this, it's kind of sometimes kind of difficult to create milling and noise materials. So let's look around, yeah. Firstly, I add some slight milling, yeah, that covers pretty all parts of my material, all parts of my weapon. Yeah, here you can see. You don't want to load very bad. Yeah, so something like that. After that, I just added more intense milling with other patterns that is bigger, that is larger, it's more kind of chunky, but it's more rare, so there is no such a lot of places with this kind of pattern. In the next layer I've added even more variable and even more intense milling, yes, some kind of this deep scratches of the milling to make my texture more variable and more interesting. Actually, you can look in the link in the description, the file of this receiver, yeah, and look more in the masks of this milling, because actually I have no reason to explain detailedly how those masks are work, yeah, so they're kind of simply, but they're really large, and you need to determine themselves to yourself, by yourself, I mean, yeah. So the next step is metal damages. I need to say that for metal damages I use stencils, yeah, so I haven't any tablet or something like that to draw damages by my hand, so in lots of the cases I just use stencils. They're very convenient, they're very comfortable to use, so I get my stencils from my references. For example, I can give you this photo. Yeah, here we have this kind of damage. I use this photo in Photoshop where I decrease saturation of this photo, so it becomes black and white photo. Yeah, after all, I use levels to contrast my image and just take those stencils from the photo. I can give you some examples of this kind of stencils because I have them here in my asset browser. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I will now select some kind of paint layer. Here you can see this was a stencil that I used for my project. Oh, it was OTS 14 actually. Yeah, it was just a damage. Your stencil should look like that. Yeah, actually you can use gigapixel to increase quality of your stencils, because after Photoshop you will find out that your stencils are kinda low quality, and you need to change their quality. I mean, to increase their quality. So let's talk a bit about metal damages. The most difficult part here is to recreate this kind of mask. In 80% it was created by stencils, yeah, as you can see. So I just grabbed my photo, processed it in Photoshop and Gigapixel AI, and after that I just added it to my texture. Yeah, so there is nothing difficult. I need to talk a bit about one little technique. It's cloud variations. As you can see here, I just added this kind of powder gradient. Yeah, actually there is one cool brush for that is called powder. Yeah, artistic soft powder. It's pretty cool to create this kind of variations, because in base color it looks like a slight gradient around your main damage. Yeah, it looks kinda cool. The next step in creating of your metal damages is to make your metal more variable, because actually you can just add your metal, yeah, make a really cool mask, but material of your metal will be monotonous. Yeah, as you can see here, it's monotonous. We need to create variations even here, even in these small pieces, because actually a viewer of our artwork can see that we have no variations here, and this render for him would be not as realistic as it could be. Yeah, so I just add some gradients, some noise. My noise in this case is pretty intense. It's 44% blending mode. Yeah, it's 44% opacity. Actually, it's pretty intense. And after that, I just add some high passes. Actually, I'll show you this. For example, you can see this damage here on top. Yeah, and on borders of this material, in borders of this damage, I just added some dark spots to make my metal more visible. It's a main principle of classical art, that if you have something light near with something dark, yeah, so light color becomes lighter in terms of the contrast. So here in Substance Painter, as I said, our texture is our canvas. So on this canvas we try to use these classical art principles. Yeah, it could be very useful for you. So here we just add some black variations to make white variations more visible, to make our damage more visible. Yeah, I just added another variation of this high pass, yeah, on the borders. But now this high pass looks more kinda like a dirt or a stain, I don't even know actually. And after that I create some variations to our metal. Yeah, so now you can see that our metal is not a solid white material, but it has some tints, some green, some blue tint and something like that. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, there is just 3 layers in our texture. They're not as useful. So for example, here I have a special filter. You can find it on Gumroad or on GitHub, I don't even know. That's called SCLR GTA Baker Metal Rough. Yeah. And kinda make your texture more realistic because it adds an effect of sunlight burned. Yeah, actually, if you use your weapon a lot, yeah, and if it contacts with sunlight a lot, some parts of your material will become lighter, yeah, they will miss their color, they will change their color, and other pieces will become darker. Actually, here you can see how our texture changed. It just changed a bit, yeah. It has some this tint variation here on the surface. Yeah, it's not as visible, but it's kinda cool effect in the end of our texture. After that, I just added a folder with some roughness variations. It's pretty simple. Here we can see on the mask, yeah, that there is just some scratches, some little dots, little dust, and something like that. So just kind of little details in the end of our texturing. In the end, I want to say that you need to create your texture from some kind of big details, such as gradients, variations, and after that go to some little details such as dust, dirt, damages, stains, spots, and something like that. Yeah, so it's as in classical painting. Yeah, firstly you create some big shapes, after that you go to middle shapes, and after that you go to the smallest shapes of your art. That's it. I will repeat that you can find this file in the link in the description. Yeah, you can use it in your purposes. Yeah, so I hope that you like this video. In this case, press like button and subscribe button. In this channel, I will try to tell you lots of things about creation of textures of the weapon, about weapon art, about vehicle art, about props art, and everything like that. So I hope that you will like that, and see you in the next video.